Hi. I just want to talk a little bit about loss. Um, Over the past year, um, I lost my husband last November, 24th of November. I'd been married to him for 30 years. I married him when I was 18. We have 4 children. I lost my brother on the same day. Then 6 weeks later, I lost my auntie. It's been very, very difficult. I took it, I still do, very, very hard. When you're with someone from the age of 18 and we had our children, so in a way we sort of grew up together. Sorry, I miss him every day. Sometimes I just wish that he would walk through the door. I feel because I was the one, because he came in, and normally my husband would always talk to me, and I'd say, "Do you want a cup of tea or something?" And he'd always say yes, but he went straight to the bathroom downstairs, which wasn't like my husband. I followed him, and he was having the heart attack there and then. I managed to get him on the floor, and I started CPR straight away. I was there for about 25 minutes doing CPR. One of my children had put the phone by the side of me with the emergency services on, so I was talking to them and telling them what was happening. Then next minute there was just like loads of paramedics, doctors, everything. Here there was about 8 of them, and they took Ashley out the bathroom into the bedroom. And they tried for a further 45 minutes, giving him adrenaline injections, obviously doing everything that they could possibly do. He was 54 years old. He wasn't just my husband, he was my best friend. He was the person that I could talk to. Sorry. I married Ashley when I was 18, and when I was 19 years old, I fell ill 2 weeks after having our second son. I went to bed at night and I woke up in the morning. I was going to feed Scott and get David up, and I couldn't move from the waist down. I was completely paralyzed. I was took to our local hospital. From there, I was took to a specialist hospital in Oxford, which then they diagnosed me with MS and also a condition called transverse myelitis, which was the bottom of my spinal cord was swelling. So at the age of 19, I was diagnosed with 2 major conditions, and my husband just stood by me. A lot of men could have walked away, run away, I don't know. But he was like, "No, we can do this. We've got this," you know. It took me quite a while to learn how to walk again. And then when I got home, I was still in a wheelchair. So I used to have to go to the hospital daily to have intravenous steroids. So I literally would put Scott, who was a baby, in his baby carrier on my chest, and David on my lap with the wheelchair seatbelt around him to hold him. And I'd get to the hospital that way, either taxi or whatever, and I'd get there with the children. It took me quite a while to learn to walk again, although my mind, I was telling my legs to move. It was just like they didn't want to. My right leg has always stayed my worst and my weakness, my weakest leg. Then when I think I was about 25, I had another major bout of transverse myelitis, where it didn't only paralyze me from the waist, it stopped my bowel from working and my bladder from working. So now I have to catheterize both ways. Then see, it's so many things. Then in my 30s, I was diagnosed with a tumor in my bowel, which they removed, and I ended up having a ileoscopy bag for 3 years, and I had it reversed, and so now I do these special element with the water bag, and I clean myself out basically. But all along, my husband he was by my side. Not once did he ever turn around and say, I can't deal with this or anything like that. He always just used to big me up and say, you've got this, we can do it. Which was, even just hearing those words, I'd love to just hear those words now. There's days when I just can't get out of bed physically or mentally, because my world just don't feel the same without him. About 6 months ago, I literally hit a brick wall. It was like, it doesn't matter if my whole family was stood in front of me telling me that they loved me or anything like that. I hit this wall. I didn't want to know. I didn't care about anybody else. And I tried to take my own life. It was very, very touch and go. Obviously, I'm glad that they saved me, because I have 4 children and I have 3 grandchildren. And I think if I had gone, my husband would have kicked my ass back down. Me, it's not your time. Grief is something that everybody deals with in a different way. All I wanted to do was be on my own in my room and just be on my own. I didn't want anybody around me. I didn't want anybody saying to me, you have to stop crying, or or be strong and things like this. I just wanted to be on my own, and I just wanted to grieve on my own. It was hard as it was because we were in lockdown, and as a family we couldn't grieve together, because 3 of my children don't live with me. My eldest son does, so obviously none of us could grieve together. At the funeral there was only allowed 27 people in there, but outside, because my husband used to play ice hockey for Swindon, outside was his teammates, and they all had their team jackets on from when they went to Canada, which was great. I didn't actually notice it on the day, but we had it filmed, and when I looked back at it, I saw it. And so loss is something that everybody deals with in a different way. And my children got so concerned because I was grieving so badly, that they had to call what they call the crisis team, because I just needed help. If I woke up at 2:00 in the morning, I needed someone to talk to, and I couldn't do that with my children because they were grieving themselves. They still are. We all still are. Ashley was like a very, very loving, caring person. Nobody can ever take his place. he was basically the heart and soul of the family. I'm still grieving. 13 months on, you still grieve. You still, I don't know, a song will come on, or you'll go to a certain place, or a certain perfume you'll put on, and it just brings back memories. Like I said, we married when I was very young, so we grew together, and we had 4 children. And we went through a lot. Most families wouldn't go through. We had 3 children that were born very early. Our first son was born at 32 weeks and was born with what they call bilateral talipes, which was his feet were round like the wrong way. So he had to have, I think all in all, he had about 11 operations to correct his feet and his legs. But he started playing ice hockey from a very young age. We started him skating when he was 4. So I think that strengthened his legs and helped him. And then Scott was actually born 2 weeks late. I think he'd still be there now. Then I had Carl, who's now 27. He was born at 29 weeks. Quite horrific birth, prolapse cord and everything, and he ended up with autism and epilepsy. So delayed developmental delays to do with dyslexia and stuff like that in school. Then I went on to have Laura, who was actually born at 26 weeks, and she was 1 pound 6 ounces, and she has cerebral palsy, hydrocephalus, 2 wombs, 1 kidney, and she has arthritis in her knees, and she is 25. But she does live independently. I'm there should she need me to sort out stuff, but I've always made, it sounds horrible, but I've made my children try to be independent. There are times when they need me to do stuff, or they need my help, or they don't understand certain stuff. And that is when I'm there. I don't interfere in their lives. They can get on with their lives. I just stand by, and I'm just there should they need me, like most parents do. Obviously now I'm like a one parent family, which I tell you, I hold my hands up to anybody that has brought up children on their own. I mean, mine are all now adults, and it's difficult enough losing their dad a year ago, and it being just me for them to sort of come to if they need me or anything. Because with my illnesses, there's days where I just can't get out of bed, or I'm just so tired that I will just sleep for days and days. My eldest son knows that if I go into what we call sleep mode, where I will literally sleep, he knows to wake me up, give me my medication, try to get me to eat something or drink something. And then we go from there. I use an electric wheelchair if I'm really bad. I have a little electric scooter in the back of my car, which is very light, so I can get it in and out the car. And so grief, I think, is an individual person's. Everybody grieves differently. Some people go to drink. Some people just sort of don't cry. Some people cry all the time. I just wanted to be left alone. I just wanted to be in my room on my own. It's where I felt close to my husband. I still do. Um, yeah. And then 2 days after my husband passed away, my mum went back to Wales, and then they had a phone call that they'd found my brother um, in his house dead, and that they think that he died on the same day as my husband from exactly the same thing, heart problem. Then 6 weeks later, my Auntie Lynn died from coronavirus. So it's been a hell of a year. Then I had coronavirus 29th of December last year, lasted for 7 weeks, antibiotics, steroids, blood thinners. I ended up with a clot in my lung and in the back of my calf. I was in that hospital, which obviously when you're in there, no one can come and see you. No one, you can talk to people on the phone and things like that, but no one can actually come and see you because it's obviously highly dangerous. I'm still grieving for my husband. I don't think I'll ever stop grieving for him. He was a person that he didn't like conflict or anything. It was funny really, because if the kids ever wanted to do something and he didn't want them to do it because it was dangerous or whatever, he'd always say to me, "Tell them they can't do it." And I'd tell him, so it was like good cop, bad cop. I was always the bad one because I was the one telling them that they couldn't do what they wanted to do. But they've done some really funny stuff over the years. One year we had like a lot of snow, and all the kids were out playing. And I thought to myself, they were playing with the neighbours' kids and everything all over the field, just snowball fighting and everything. So I thought to myself, oh, kids are out, I'll go and get a lovely bath. So I goes upstairs and the side of the bath's gone. So I shouts to my husband, "What are you doing with the side of the bath? Are you putting a new one on or something?" He said, "I don't know what you're on about." So we go out and have a look for the kids. They'd only took the side of the bath and was using it as a sleigh, going down the hill on it. And oh, they took the ironing board to try and use that as a sleigh. They took everything. They just the things they used to do. Um, it's quite funny actually. One year it was summer holidays and they had a big tent set up in the garden and all their mates there and they had disco equipment out and barbecues at night. And I think for the whole 6 weeks, their mates just stayed here. You know, my husband didn't mind. I didn't mind because you know where your kids are, you know they're safe. So they're not bad kids. They never got in trouble. The things they used to do was funny. So I think, you know, my husband was very proud of that fact that they never got in trouble. They used to just do stupid, funny things. So yeah, so it's been a horrific year. I tried to pick myself up. I tried to get going. Some days I can, some days I can't. I just it's just it's everything in your life and your universe and everything has just changed. It's even things like, yeah, I have a single bed now. It's just me. I have a single bed. And like my son's gone out to hockey with his children tonight, so I'm here on my own, and I was here on my own last night, and I end up just talking to the dog all night. Or I'll just end up going to bed early. But yeah, grief is it's hard to explain when people say to you, um, about grieving, I was trying to explain to people that it was physical pain as well. It was literally like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. When they came and told me that he'd gone, they obviously took everything away from him, tubes and everything like that, and they led him on the bed. Obviously the police and that had to be called because it was a sudden death. So they had to come along. The coroners come to pick him up, but they said to me that I could stay with him for a while. So I just laid on the bed with him, talking to him. I know it sounds silly, but I just kept asking him why he had to go, because he was such a good person. I just cuddled him. I knew they needed to take him, and I did at one point. I said to him, "It's okay, he can go now." And they just turned around to me and they said, "If you don't want him to go, he won't go yet. You just stay with him as long as you want." They were so good, so good. And when we done his funeral, we put him in his team outfit, his team top, and yeah, so he had his team shirt on that he used to play ice hockey with, and we all put something in with him. My husband used to twiddle a pillowcase at night to go to sleep. He'd done it ever since he was little. So I put his twiddler in with him with a letter. My son put a necklace on him. My granddaughter put a little donkey in with him because he loved donkeys. And my little grandson done a little letter for him. And that I didn't realise how many people was actually there on the day. I don't think anyone does. I think you're just you're in a zone, you're in a different world. You just, it's hard to explain. I think I did what I could for him. His flowers and everything were his team shirt and a hockey stick and that. And I think when he passed away, and once they took him, I went into sort of overdrive, trying to sort everything out, trying to sort the funeral out, trying to make sure they had what they needed for him, try and sort all paperwork out, you know, to do with the house and everything like that. It's almost like you an overdrive. And then once the funeral had come and gone, it's almost like everything just goes quiet. You know, once he passed away, everybody was ringing, everybody was sending cards, everybody was like, "Oh, we'll be there for you." But then once it's actually happened and the funeral's actually happened, you find that you're actually on your own. You're grieving on your own. My eldest son just wouldn't come out of his room. My youngest son is still suffering very bad. same my daughter, my second son is, I think he's sort of coming to terms with it a little bit. I personally haven't, and I won't come to terms with it. I think it's so wrong that someone like my husband, who is and was a great, loving, caring man, a great father, fantastic husband. You could never want a husband like him. He was brilliant. And granddad, he loved his grandkids, and we actually had a granddaughter on the way. And he was over the moon. He couldn't wait to meet her. And it's funny because she actually looks quite like him. And yeah, so like I said, we all have to grieve in different ways, because of lockdown, we were all separated. My brother's funeral was the day after my husband's, and I just couldn't face it, to tell you the truth. I just couldn't face it. It was in Wales, and I just couldn't face going to another funeral so soon. And the family understood. I tried to tell them that I'm not as strong as they think I am. I think because I've always dealt with my MS and my transverse myelitis and everything, I've always dealt with it. And if I'm in a wheelchair, I don't care. I'm in a wheelchair and that's it. If I'm having a bad day, it's me having a bad day, not everybody else. It's, leave me alone. Let me get on with it. It's my bad day. It don't have to be yours. And that's how I've always been. And I think a lot of my family was, well, you're a strong person. You always have been. You can deal with this. And I couldn't. And I still can't in a lot of ways. I think it's wrong when there's so many evil people on this earth that get to live their life, the full life, and they get to live it how they want to. And yet someone like my husband, who's never done anything wrong to anyone, who was fantastic in every way, just went. I tried my best to try and keep him with us. The doctor that was in the house turned around and said to me that what I did kept him going for them to try. But that the heart attack was so big that even if he was in the hospital, he doubts they would have been able to save him. But it still doesn't stop that guilt of, it was me that was trying to save him, and I couldn't. Even like 13 months on, it's that guilt is still there. I don't, how can I, this sounds terrible, but I don't interfere in my children's lives. I just, like, if I'm there, if they need me, I'm there. I let them get on with their lives. So yeah, it's really what I'm talking about is grieving, how everybody grieves different. I grieved in a way that nobody could understand. And in the end, my children got the crisis team to see to me, because I was so deep within my grief that they were worried that I was going to do something. And well, in the end, I did. Because I just, in my mind, I didn't want to be here. I'd hit a wall and I just wanted to be with my husband, and nothing else mattered. I just hope that, if there is such a thing as heaven or whatever, that he's okay and he's not in any pain and he's with his dad. and his nan. His mum's still alive. She's in a care home, so I tried to go and see her. I'm going to try and go and see her next week. She's got very bad Alzheimer's, so sometimes she say to me, "Could I get Ashley to pick her up?" And I can't say to her again that Ashley's not alive. So I just turn around and say to her that he's at work or something, because obviously she relive it again. She gets upset again and she relives it again. Which obviously I don't want her to do. So I just say to her, "Oh, he's probably at work, and with lockdown and everything, I don't think he could." So I'm hoping, that after New Year I can get to see her, because I don't know what the ground rules are at the moment, because I know that when we went in, we had to do a coronavirus test, and then obviously gown up, glove up, and mask and everything, and to go and see her, and it was like one-on-one. I don't know if they've changed the rules or anything, so I'm going to have to ring and find out. Obviously, she's my mother-in-law. I love her, so I still want to make sure she's okay and got everything that she needs, and yeah. So Ashley was the youngest of three. He was the youngest of three. He had diabetes type 2. If I'm honest, he didn't really pay attention to it. He didn't. He would eat what he wanted to eat. He didn't pay attention to it, and he should have. It doesn't matter what I said to him. So yeah. And then, like I said, then they buried my brother, and then they 6 weeks later my Auntie Lynn died. So I wasn't grieving just for my husband, I was grieving for 2 other people as well. Ashley wasn't just my husband, he was my best friend, he was my soulmate. When you're young, when you're first young, you're a teenager and you go out with people and you think, "Oh my God, I'm in love." Well, when you actually meet someone that you actually do fall in love with, it's a whole different feeling. It's completely different. And that's what happened. I mean, we only knew each other 2 months before we got married, and it lasted 30 years. And obviously, if he was still here, he'd still be going. Obviously, we had our ups and downs, we had our arguments, but we always sorted them out, and we always came back together, and we loved one another and loved our children, our grandchildren. And I know that if he's watching over all of us, because that is the sort of person he is. I say he is because I believe in spirits and things like that, and I'd like to think that he is watching over all of us, and one day he might give me a sign that he's around, which I would love. Even we've got a Great Dane crossed with a Ridgeback, and even the dog, which I know a lot of people probably think that's bloody stupid, but even the dog was mourning. She was just so sad. She wouldn't eat. She didn't want to go out. She just lay on her bed. She suckles a blanket, always suckles a blanket. And she just constantly suckling on a blanket. Like, she was just so sad. Even now, when she comes into bed at night, because she knows it's just me, if she hears something, she'll come and stand right by my bed, and she will not leave until she's sure that I am okay. And even things down to like showering her. Normally it took me and Ashley to do it, because Ashley would have to hold the shower door shut and I'd be in there showering her. But now she just she just stands there because I think she knows it's me, and she knows that I can't do it if she starts trying to move about and run about and that. So she is so good. She just stands there and she just lets me do it. Give her a shower, and then like I chuck a towel over her and try and get her outside. Yeah. So I'm still grieving. 13 months later, there's not a day go by that I don't think about him. Not a minute go by that I don't love him. And you know, people are all like, "Oh, you're okay because you've been out shopping, or you've done this, or you've done that." Well, I'm the only one here that goes and does the shopping. I'm the only one that does anything. So, if I don't do it, everything's going to fall apart. So, yeah. So, like I said, grieving is an individual person's story. Everyone grieves different. Everyone. My grieving was so deep that I went to a place where no one should go, really. I went to a place where I didn't want to be here. I know it sounds very selfish, but my kids didn't matter to me. No one mattered to me. I just didn't want to be here. She proves I'm meant to be here, because when I had coronavirus last December, I fought it for 7 weeks. Clots in my lungs, in my calf. So they had me on so many different drugs. And, just like, in a way, I think it's my husband kicking me up the ass, saying that it's not your time, you're not to go. When I tried to do what I did, I'm not going to say what I did, it was very touch and go. This is mine and my husband's first wedding rings, matching wedding rings. And when I finally sort of come round, they'd put the rings on my hand. And a friend picked me up from the hospital, and they said she was nearly gone. She's very lucky to be here. And that was the darkest it got. It took me to a place where no one's mind should go. I still have days where I'm so depressed. I just don't want to do nothing. I don't want to talk to no one. I don't want to do anything at all. But then I have days when I think, wow, yeah, I can take on the world. I can do it all. During our second lockdown, I thought I needed to do something because it's me here. So I got on the computer and I done a home course in nutrition, and I got a PhD in nutrition with distinctions from the University of California. I passed it all. I was quite shocked because I'm severely dyslexic. So I was using my phone for my spelling and doing the test on the computer. And I passed with distinctions, which was quite a shock for me. Yeah. So I think I might try and do something else. I don't know what. But I will try and do something else. It'd just be interesting to know how other people grieve. Because, like I say, grieving is an individual journey, and we all do it in our own way. I'm still grieving my husband. I'll never stop grieving for him. Never. Never. He's took half of my heart with him. And I've even if I meet someone else, never loved them the same way I love my husband, because he was my soulmate. So yeah, well, rotten year it's been. I hope I'd be glad to see the back of this year. Hopefully next year might be a bit better. You never know. I hope everybody stays safe. Try to have a good new year. These things are sent to try us, and try as they do. As my nanny used to say, we all have our cross to bear in life. Just at the moment, mine seems a bit too big and a bit too heavy. So I've been to 2 mediums, and Ashley's come through every time. And his first words are, "There was nothing you could do. You could not save me. It does not matter how much you tried. I was gone, and it's not your fault." And that was his first words to me. Then they said that he was in the room, and because I was crying, and that he had his arms around me. He said that he knew that our granddaughter had been born, and that she was safe, and he knew she was going to have she had to have open heart surgery when she was only weeks old. But he was with her, and he was going to keep her safe. He said it was funny because my daughter is blonde. Her hair is naturally blonde, but she dyed it dark. And he said to tell her to dye her hair back to her normal color because she looks better with her hair normal color. But mine, they don't know me from Adam. They didn't even know my name. And she said, your 3 sons, he knows they're struggling, and he knows your daughter's struggling, and tell them that he's always with them, and he'll always be by their side. And that he'll always be by my side. My son was with me, David, and she looked at David and she turned around and said, and David, she didn't know his name. She said, "David, he said he's happy to see you." So, which, you can't know these things. It was just the things that she was saying was so interesting. So in my mind, they are still about. That their souls are there and they're with us. I'd like to think that he's with me, because there's times when I need him. Sorry. There's times when I actually just need him. It's very difficult. Going to see a medium and having him come through was very upsetting, but it was like a comfort blanket. It was just like he was there, and he was talking to me. Obviously he was, but through her, but it was just like he was just talking to me, and he the things that he was saying, like he knew it was quick. He knew no one could save him. He knew that I tried. But it was too late. He was gone. It was so quick that he didn't himself understand what had happened. But when he got there, that my nan and his dad have taught him, and they're helping him. Because she said there's a little woman by him, and she will speak her mind if she wants to. Well, to me, that's my nan. Because she loved Ashley, and she would speak her mind if she had to. And that he was with his dad. His dad went exactly the same way when he was So I think about 64, just hit the floor and gone. So yeah, it's been a really difficult year, but I'm still hanging in there. I'm not letting the MS or transfer myelitis beat me. Some days I struggle, I really struggle, but I am trying to hang in there. So all I'm going to say is, if people want to grieve, let them grieve in their own way. Don't try to stop them. Don't try to tell them they're strong and things like that. Just let them grieve in their own way, because I found that by people not letting me grieve in my own way, this is why I am still grieving so badly, because I was stopped in a way from grieving, because I was told to stop crying. I was told to come out of my room, not to be in my room on my own and things like that. But that is what I wanted to do. That is the way I wanted to grieve. That is the way I wanted to be left alone. But people just wouldn't leave me alone. And I think that is why I'm still grieving so badly now, is because I was stopped from grieving. So what I'm going to say is, like, if someone around you is grieving, let them grieve. Don't try to stop them. It's their way of dealing with it, and we all do it differently. So I'm going to end this with, I hope everybody has a better new year. I hope that, everybody stays safe. Let's hope this coronavirus thing is over soon. Yeah. So for tomorrow night, at 12 o'clock, Happy New Year to you all, and stay safe.